Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Footy Live. Today we're previewing the UEFA Champions League finals. What a clash of semi-finals we had. We know it's going to be an all-English final. So let's talk about it. Oni, Manchester City, Chelsea. A lot of people didn't predict this. Maybe people predicted Man City is going to make it. Man City is going to be the final. But the other team, your team, you're an avid Chelsea fan from the beginning. What do you think about this? What are your thoughts on the finals, Man City, Chelsea?
Well, it's interesting. Another English final here, and that just goes to show the strength of the Premier League. Yes, I agree. I wasn't expecting Chelsea to make it to the final either. Obviously, always hopeful for it and optimistic about it, but I didn't know if they would actually manage to get there. Um, I do hope that it's a little more entertaining than the one we had 2 years ago, Liverpool Tottenham, because I have to say that 1-0 win for Liverpool was quite boring to watch as a fan, from a fan's perspective. Um, I do find it interesting. You've got two teams playing without a classic number nine. Yes, you've got Timo, who is a striker, but he generally does play on the wings. You've generally got Kai Havertz in the middle. Both teams play this way. It's quite unconventional. Is it going to be the future of football moving forward? I don't know. They've both dominated teams with this style. Pep has tried it before. We saw it with Barcelona, with Fabregas. Barcelona dominated clubs, and I'm not really sure why no one else tried it back then. It was very successful, and it's working again, as we can see.
Here's the thing. Just pause here. Just pause your thoughts here. I want to go back. You said something very interesting here. All English final. It's not going to be boring against man like how Liverpool and Tottenham were.
Mhm.
A lot of the managers they have respect for each other, and a lot of these teams have respect. I feel it might be a boring final because they might just wait for the team to make a mistake.
I'm not sure. We've got two teams that like to control the game here. Generally, I can say when Chelsea goes up against another ball controlling team, they do sit back a bit because they're good on the counter attack. And I think the first goal will be a counter attacking goal. I don't think it's going to be ticky tack outside of a box. Even Man City, they can hit on the counter attack. We know they can. We've seen it this Champions League. So it's two very counter-attacking teams, and I think whoever goes up 1-0 is going to win the game because they'll be given many more good opportunities on the counter. Um, I am hopeful for Chelsea, of course, as a Chelsea fan, and all I can say is that with the back five, they've been extremely successful. Look at Antonio Conte when he came and he implemented that back five strategy, and now Tuchel as well, and it's worked wonders. Of course, the games previously against Man City, both clubs weren't playing their full squads, and it's going to be hard to say now going into the final. I do absolutely rate Manchester City a better club on paper with their starting 11 and both clubs being in form, but it'll be a good match. I think it's going to be exciting. I think a lot of counter-attacking when the controlling team loses the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. John, you're a big Chelsea supporter as well. Apart from Madrid, you don't like City. What are your thoughts here on the Chelsea team specifically here?
Well, it's not that I don't like City. I mean, I personally like how City likes to control the game, and I do like Pep's style of play. But I do want to see Chelsea come out on top on this one. Obviously there's some history. I'm a Madrid fan. Pep, ex-Barcelona coach, right? There's that little tension there, right? So, but yeah, I mean, I do want to see the team that knocked out Madrid take the title here. I feel like Chelsea have, the experienced player in Thiago Silva to lead that back line, to make sure they stay solid. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting match, but I'm hoping to see Chelsea come out on top here.
Yeah, talking about this, and both of you guys here, I want to bring this up. The manager, he has the upper hand actually. He's defeated Guardiola with his tactics, and we just saw the Premier League what happened, last week, and we saw what happened in the FA Cup final. Both times he defeated Chelsea. Narrow wins, 1 goal difference. These games are tight when you play the top clubs. Oh, what are your thoughts about that on tactics? You like Guardiola, John, and
Yeah,
absolutely, he's the tactician. To me, he's the best manager. But Thomas Tuchel coming and outmastering the tactics.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't expect to see Pep change too much in terms of his, formation or obviously his game plan. He'll have to adjust a bit, right? But in terms of formation, how he's, set up his team to get to the final, I don't see him changing too much. Um, I mean, Chelsea have proven that they're really good, applying pressure, and like Ani said earlier, they did a really good job, creating goals off of counterattacks. So yeah, like I said before, it's going to be a really exciting match.
Yeah, yeah. And Ani, what about you? Thomas Tuchel, you know him from Dortmund days. You've known him. You've been following the manager quite a while here. What are your thoughts about on the tactics? He's got an upper hand on Guardiola and on the Man City team psychologically.
I don't know if he has an upper hand. I wouldn't say that. He's come up he hasn't come up against the A team of Man City yet. So, and Guardiola knows that. I mean, the semi-final, I'm sure Guardiola was kicking himself a little bit, letting that slip away with an opportunity this late in the season to have a quadruple. But I think he had to kind of make a bit of a sacrifice because he was still in the Champions League semis at that time, where he knew it was important, and ultimately the Champions League is the prized possession that they want. So he had to rest some players in that game, and it didn't work out for him. It almost did. And I mean, yes, they're very tight games, and Chelsea didn't play their full A team either. So it will be very interesting to see. But I think we know that Chelsea's going to play with a back five. Guardiola knows that. He's had 2 games to review now on tape to see how they function, how they play, how they press, how they defend. Whereas with Guardiola, yes, he typically plays a back 4, but he could come out with a back 3. He could come out with a back 5, and we don't know what that's going to look like. He could have been working on that for weeks. I do think Guardiola is the best manager currently in the world in recent seasons. I know he hasn't won the final in quite some time, but the work he's done with the teams he's come to has been very, very impressive. And the team's success after even having left them, look at Bayern Munich. They're still a wonderful club, still taking on a lot of what Guardiola introduced, no matter what manager comes in. And then Thomas Tuchel, I have to say, yes, he followed Klopp very closely. He was in Mainz, then he went to Dortmund, and then Tuchel stepped away to PSG. I think he's learned a lot every club he's managed, and I think he's got respect for Guardiola because yes, he's come away with 2 narrow victories, but I also think he knows that it very easily could have gone the other way, and he doesn't step away from his back 5 because he knows just how dangerous Man City are.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's funny you said about he has got respect for Guardiola. So there was this article in German newspaper I was reading, and it was funny because he said that during their days in Germany when he was in Dortmund and Guardiola was Bayern, they had this dinner in an Italian restaurant in Bavaria. They were having over for dinner, and they were all talking about tactics, this and this in a restaurant. You know how Germans eat. They're very quiet in a restaurant. They're not loud, obnoxious people. Germans like to respect others. But these 2 managers sitting across, and they had all this napkins and cutlery talking about tactics. We should do this. You should do this. You should do this. And people were like, "Oh man, who are you guys? What are you talking about?" So it's a very interesting article. And of course, he's learned few things from the best. So lot of respect. And I think Tuchel is a great manager. Look what he did with PSG. PSG's done so well. Uh, you know, he's young, and Tuchel. One day I see him as being a manager of Germany as well. He's very good tactically. It just proves what he's done to Chelsea, right? He's just reformed that club. Like that club is a club now. The team is. It's not a struggling team. It's a power team.
Yeah, you're right. I do think Tuchel now as well, given his history, given his resume, what he's achieved, building up to managing these elite clubs in the world. Now his next step is winning this trophy. So I think he knows the team's ready. I think the team knows he wants it as well, having been there now 2nd year in a row in the final. So we'll see if he can achieve it.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Very looking forward for the final. The other thing I want to talk about the final, actually, there's been talks and rumors coming out, where the final will be. There was a rumor that it's going to be in Villa Park, Aston Villa's ground, because it's in between Man City and Chelsea. Back in the days, the European competitions in 80s, 90s used to happen like in the middle, so that English fans could travel. There's been rumors happening that it could happen in Wembley, or it could happen in
Mhm.
Portugal. Just because in Turkey there's restrictions with COVID, people can't travel. Do you have any thoughts about that? Like, where should it happen? Or what should say? Ideally for me, I would say, just push the Istanbul to next year and have a final in Villa Park, or have a final in one of the big stadiums between Chelsea and between Man City. So it's a neutral ground.
Ron, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I actually agree with that, Shanky. It would be better, I mean, two English clubs, right? Better to have the
In
home
England,
fans there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Keep it in England, right? Like, keep it in
Yeah.
England, keep it in Villa Park, keep it in, I mean, Wembley if you have to. It's a big stadium, fair, sure. Or keep it in Midland somewhere.
I disagree with you guys. I think it should be abroad. I don't think they should be allowed to have it just in England just because it's two English clubs in the final, which I know is a huge argument to have it in England. You've got two English clubs, you've got all the fans at home too.
Well, and
But
it's
you have fans of these
the
clubs abroad.
restriction.
You have fans of these clubs abroad as well, and I completely understand that they've got this 10-day quarantine coming back to the UK. If they go to Istanbul, I don't think it should be in Istanbul. I really disagree with that, given the state of the country currently with what's going on in the world. Um, I think UEFA said they're going to come out with an announcement on Thursday, so tomorrow actually, regarding it possibly being in Porto Stadium in Portugal, which I think would be very good. We know the weather will be nice for the final. We know Portugal has recently hosted various tournaments, the Nations League being one of them. They definitely have the infrastructure to host a larger capacity of people. They're on the green zone as well for the English in the UK, so we know the fans can travel. We know people are itching to travel. I think it might be good for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Porto is a good one too. Istanbul, yes, you're right on the country, and fans are wishing to travel if they can get fans. But and for me, it would be easily just to push Istanbul for next year.
I do agree. I think Istanbul needs to be looked at for another year.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, what? Let's talk about predictions here. Well, moving next, what's next to come here? Predictions. I'll start with you. John. What are your predictions for the finals?
Yeah. So if the way I see it going is if Chelsea can apply the same kind of pressure that they did versus Real Madrid, in the first half of the match, and get that early goal, I feel like Chelsea will take it.
Yeah, well, perfect. Yeah, I mean, that's possible for sure. And
Yeah.
Ani, what do you think about?
I think Chelsea are going to take it. I don't think it's going to be easy by any means. They may fall behind. I think both clubs are going to score. I was really impressed with the most recent victory over City because they were behind, and I was very curious how they would respond to that, and they didn't give up. So I know City are the same way too. So if Chelsea go ahead, by no means is it a victory or are they safe. But I do think whoever scores first is going to have the upper hand, not just because they're leading, but because of their ability to counterattack. I think it's going to be very exciting. But I do think Chelsea will come away with the victory.
Nice, nice. I'm going to talk about my predictions, and then I have a question for both of you after. So, for me, I'm going to say City is going to take it just because of the class they have. They control the game. They have the class up front to finish. They will be resting players as well because City's won the Premier League. They don't need to put more players in, whereas Chelsea is fighting for the fourth spot. Players will be tired by next Saturday coming up. So I'll go with City here.
I have a question for you with that actually. Do you think resting players is going to benefit them though? I know people always say there's an injury scare, but sometimes when a player's in form, it's almost better to let them keep playing.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I mean, I haven't looked at the Chelsea schedule, but giving a week's rest or a 4-day rest is a huge deal. I don't know when the last Premier League game is. I think it is 26th and the final is 29th. It all depends on that when the last Premier League game is. Let's look at it. When is the last Premier League game?
Sunday the 23rd, so 6 days before the final.
6 days finals, and whereas City is going to get probably 10 days where he doesn't play that. But yes, you're right. Like it can go against them as well because they've rested too much. I think it happened with Bayern. They had won the Bundesliga and they rested players and Bayern couldn't do it, right?
Yep.
But let's talk about this actually, exploiting weaknesses. So I think Chelsea is very good on the wing, right wing, where they can exploit weaknesses for Man City. You know, just looking at the Premier League game, it was Cancelo who was playing on the right, and Chelsea was really good, dominating, putting crosses into the right. Where do you think, Ani and John, Chelsea's gonna exploit weaknesses of City's way? Where about which side?
I think either way they have to press City's left back, whether it's Cancelo or Zinchenko.
Yeah, and where do you, John? What do you think here?
It's definitely not going to go through the middle. I'll tell you that. We know that their center backs are solid. City center backs are quite solid. So yeah, I mean, going down the wing, maybe getting a cross in. Yeah.
Oh, and what do you think about about Chelsea? What can City do? Where can they exploit the weakness for Chelsea? You know, Ani?
I think if they depend on who plays, so it's going to be really tricky. I think they almost have to try a tiki-taka style to get around the 5 defenders.
And Conte in the middle, right? Such an influence he is.
It's hard because they've
Yeah.
got the wings covered as long as the wing backs don't press too high. They've got 3 in the middle with Conte screening, so I think they just need to pass their way around.
Yeah, which is very amazing. You know, coming back to your point here, linking that, you know, counter-attacking might work, and which team ever scores, they might score for counter-attacking football, because
Yeah.
if each team's pressing tiki-taka and wing backs are up, that's just the weakness there. Perfect. Well, there we are. We are on the final preview for the Champions League final. Thank you for tuning up, guys. Please subscribe to our channel if you're liking this content. Like the video. It helps the YouTube. It helps us. Thank you. Have a great day. See you next week.